I was asked questions earlier in the year, will there be a candidate tonight? And each of the organizations felt it was not appropriate for them to have it, but I was asked by one of the organizations to see if we couldn't get the League of Women Voters to come. So I had not met Mr. and Mrs. Hake, but they generously have volunteered on the part of the League of Women Voters, and they are here tonight to do an impartial forum for our candidates. We're very lucky to have 6 candidates running for our 3 seats. And Joan will be conducting all the parts. She'll be telling you the rules, all those things. But she did ask me to do one thing, and that was to let you know that we asked all electronic devices to be shut off. Whether it's your cell phone, your laptop, no pictures, no texting or anything during this time. So I know that's a difficult thing, but you're not 15, so it's okay. The other thing is, I thought it would be very nice if we had a pledge of allegiance. And we have a World War II veteran right here who's going to help us tonight. Would you lead us in our pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Joan?
I guess I'll take a look. Coming around the pole here. Before we begin, I'm incredibly impressed by the turnout. You are a wonderful community. To have such a small community and to have this kind of a turnout, I'm impressed. I am Joan Hake, and I am the Voter Service Vice President for the Central Orange County Area League of Women Voters. My husband is Bart Hake, and he will be the time
Keeper.
time person. As in order to be as neutral as possible, neither of us is a resident of Villa Park. We always are outside, so we don't know you, we don't know the candidates, makes it far more appropriate. We are a political organization, but the League of Women Voters never supports or opposes candidates for any elective office. We have invited all candidates to enter their information on a website which we sponsored called Smart Voter. Have any of you discovered Smart Voter? Not many of you. Go online and look for smartvoter.org, and it will take you to, you can get the state. It's a national organization, so you want to get California, Orange County. And once you get there, it has your ballot, it has your candidates for everything. It's as good as a ballot. So you can look on there and learn a lot of information. And I hope all of the candidates have put their information on there. Have you?
Yes.
How many of you put your information on? 1, 2. The rest of you get with it. Get with it because it's free and all these people can look it up and see more about you. If you need more information on how to get your information on there, you can contact me at my telephone number or my website, and I'll make sure you get that. Okay, so today we have in front of us Jay Catani, Deanna Pacelli, Carl Krutziger, Robert Bob Colascio.
Collicott.
Oh, Collicott, Steve Miller, and Bill Nelson. And I said I was going to call them by first names, but I've changed my mind. I want to be more formal, so I'm going to address each of them by their last name. Each candidate will have an opportunity to make an opening statement of 3 minutes, which may include biographical information. The order of speaking is as you see it. We'll start here and go down. And that will happen. I will ask a question in a different order each time. So if I start with Mr. Catani, I will then, maybe the next time, start with Mr. Collicott. It'll be all over the place. So nobody gets a lot of time to respond to each other in turn, because somebody could be sitting there always taking notes. So we won't do that. We'll mix it up. I'll ask questions in a different order. The timekeeper will show a yellow card, and I don't know, I hope you can see it. We're kind of in an odd place here.
Bob, your uncle.
When they have 15 seconds left, and they can finish a statement if the red card goes up, which means stop. But if they're right in the middle of a statement, they can finish it. Because some people will stop, boom, just like that. But you don't need to do that. After the opening statement by the candidates, the rest of the time will be devoted to questions from you who are in the audience. And you've been handing them in already, and you can continue to do that throughout the forum. And they will be sorted by me. Some you may not hear your question at all. There will be a reason for that. It may be that it's inappropriate. I'm going to say this right up front. One of the cards I already looked at asked for party affiliation. And I don't think that's appropriate. You are not party affiliated for the city council. So I'm not going to ask that question. But other questions may be duplicates. So if you don't hear the one you have, it's because somebody else asked the same question. So then, they have 2 minutes for each answer. The questions can be to an individual. You can say, this question is for Mrs. Fascinelli, and she can answer it. But after, if it's one that's appropriate for others, they have an opportunity to answer as well. But ordinarily, the questions will be asked of each of the candidates, and as I said, not in order every time. We'll mix it up. So they have 2 minutes to answer a question. That's fairly long. They don't have to talk for 2 minutes. And originally I said 1 minute, but I changed it a little bit. And again, the timekeeper, my husband back here, will be keeping very careful tabs on that. Then finally, we have a closing statement of 2 minutes each, and we'll start from that end and go here. So without further ado, I think it's time for us to begin. So, opening statements, shall we? Starting with Mr. Capone.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you, Joan and Mr. Ake, for organizing this for us for the League of Women Voters. All the residents of Villa Park, thank you for coming. I wish I could win a lottery ticket just like that to be the first one on the gun like this, you know, but apparently not today. I'm the first one on the gun. That's a good thing. My name is Jay Catani. That's Catani, which is very well pronounced by you. Thank you very much. I've been a resident of California for the last, since 1971, for 45 years now almost. And lived in Villa Park for the last 12 years. This place is a very good home for me. We have decided to make this a retirement community for us, my wife and I. I have 2 beautiful kids, Jason and Jessica. We are currently in a business for manufacturing dietary meals for health clinics and also for personal trainers as well as senior citizens. Over the years, I've been self-employed. I've been in the franchise businesses. I've also been involved with several different convenience shops as well. I have a really good experience with business. My business acumen will be a very good complement as a councilman. The reason why I decided to run for city council is we walk our dog every day. And I've learned that I could walk my dog at 6 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night, and this community is very, very safe. And I want to keep it that way. I want to preserve what's here at Villa Park. And I want to make sure that it's like that for years to come. And I like this place to be very enjoyable for my grandkids when I do get some. But I really want to give back to this community. It's been so good for us for the last 12 years. I love the values of this community. I've recently been involved with the Rotary, also getting involved with the foundation. It's a great, great community. And again, my name is Jay Catani, and I want to serve this community. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming, and vote for Jay Catani. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mrs. Fascinelli. I suggest that
Got
this
that
table
one.
pause until the end of the forum. Mrs. Fascinelli.
Good evening. I'm Deanna Fasinelli, and I am a daughter, I am a wife, and I'm a mother of 3 children, and I'm also honored to be your Mayor Pro Tem for the last year. I have lived in Villa Park about 11, 12 years now. My husband was raised here. His family came here in 1971 and was very involved in the community, from the Women's League to the Rotary to forming the picnic and to making long-lasting friendships till they retired. What I bring to the community is awareness and a sense of family and a sense of belonging. I have volunteered for the foundation, for the Women's League, for the schools. For the last 10 years of my life, I volunteered for my church for the last 20 years of my life, and now I volunteer for the city. I give everything that I can for the city and to make sure that it's the place that my children are going to grow up, live here as long as my husband has lived here. I want to keep it safe, I want to keep it nice, and want to keep it growing in the manner that would allow it to keep the beauty that it has now. Because nothing can stay the same, we just need to keep it updated and make sure that we keep with our same values that we've had now for 52 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
My turn. I want to extend a warm welcome to all the citizens of Villa Park. My name is Carl Kreitziger. And I think to understand the candidate, you really need to know the individual, what I'm all about. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I married 27 years to my high school sweetheart, which is in here, Lori. We've raised 3 children in this community. 2 of them have graduated from college, and we took our baby up 3 weeks ago. So I'm an empty nester. I'm a president of a company called Driver SPG, and we build complex, highly integrated structures and spaces. My 26 years in business has given me really skills in leadership, negotiations of contracts, budgeting, scheduling. In my business, I've worked in almost every Orange County city to date, and I deal with a lot of different agencies. City of Planning and Building Departments, Cal OSHA, California Department of Transportation, South Coast Air Quality Control, Southern California Edison, Orange County Fire Authority, and Orange County Waste and Recycling, just to name a couple one that I've got to deal with in my business. My firm is a successful one. We're going to generate about $100 million in revenues this year, and last week in the Orange County Business Journal, we were the 11th fastest private growing company in Orange County, and I'm really proud of that. I sit on the executive management board of our affiliate companies, and I also sit on the board of directors for HomeAid, which we develop and build shelters for homeless people. My company supports over a dozen nonprofit organizations, and it is the culture of my company that all employees give back to the community. And to date, we've donated in 2014 800 hours and $150,000 to the community. It takes a leader with a vision to do this, and it takes great people you need to be surrounded with, and that's what I have, and also a little luck, if you didn't mention that. As I look over the next 4 years in our city, I see some of the issues that would need to be tackled as a city council person. These include the traffic and congestion in our not-so-good neighbors of our schools that we really need to get better communications, and we need results. Old Phil's gas station is gone. He was a good man. And we lost a valuable piece of our history in Villa Park, and it was well served by the citizens. And the developer now faces environmental cleanup and replacement of that building. They got to give us a new retail building. But at the city council, we have very little to say what goes there, but you do with your dollars and your support to those businesses. We have a 7-year capital improvement that we have to do with 11 projects that we need to do over the next 4 years. And we need to encourage our improvements to the city park, town center here. We need to reward our local business people for what they've done. Look what Billy and Lori have done next door. So with that, we also got to look at a $296 million bond measure. And with that, it's really your vote. But I can tell you I've built a lot of schools, and I can represent Villa Park in a way that you can't imagine. If you agree with me that these are some of the issues in our city council that we'll be facing in the next 4 years, and you believe my business practices and my experience and my commitments to others would benefit the city, then I ask for your support, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Colacott.
Thank you. My name is Bob Collicott, and I've been a Villa Park homeowner for 33 years. And I've lived on both sides of the Great Divide, which we all refer to as Villa Park Road. For the past month, I've walked quite a bit of our city, and our residents agree that Villa Park is a unique and wonderful place to live. My travels have also confirmed that our community is extremely stable, and about a third of our residents bought their homes new in the 60s and early 70s. A consistent theme that I've heard from our residents is that they want to keep Villa Park just like it is: quiet, peaceful, beautiful, and safe. However, the only constant in life is change, and Villa Park is facing internal change as a community and external change from the surrounding areas. These changes are challenges to our desire to maintain our community. Some examples: Villa Park's demographics have changed, and now we have a large number of senior residents, including widows and folks with disabilities. As a community, we need them, and we need to be aware of their needs. For 40 years, a pancake breakfast was held in Villa Park, which was a wonderful community tradition. As your councilman, I'll work with the council and the community organizations to bring back the pancake breakfast to raise funds to support paint up, spruce up events to help those residents in need of extra hands and strong backs to maintain their residences. The areas surrounding Villa Park have developed, greatly increasing traffic through our community. Now, as your councilman, I'll work with the council, city staff, and the adjacent communities to reduce traffic and noise in our city. The Orange Unified School District has closed cities in the city of Orange, converted our neighborhood schools into regional educational institutions, and eliminated free busing. No provision has been made for additional parking or management of the resulting traffic. The neighborhoods surrounding all 4 of our campuses are now significantly impacted. If not corrected, tragedy will result when a student or a resident becomes a victim, or when a resident does not receive timely emergency services due to this traffic. As a city, the safety of our residents must be paramount and non-negotiable. We must identify school-related traffic as a priority public safety issue and work with OUSD to expedite solutions. Our city must become more engaged in the decisions regarding development and road projects in the surrounding areas. As your councilman, I'll work with the council to ensure that our city is more vigilant in identifying such projects and their impacts on our community and seeking mitigation to maintain our Villa Park. As your councilman, I will provide leadership in working with the council, staff, and our residents in identifying the issues and challenges facing our community and in developing and implementing solutions. Although I will promote collaboration with the county, City of Orange, and OUSD, my first and last priority will be the residents of Villa Park. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Miller.
This is Stephen Miller. Lived in the Villa Park area for about 30 years, 16 over at Linda Vista's back gate and 13 up on Mesa Drive. And Birgit and I have raised a son up through the Orange Unified School District and sent him on up to Berkeley, where he now is gainfully employed in the Bay Area. I have spent about 38 years as a practicing engineer in complex computer systems, working on chemical manufacturing, DoD projects, and more recently the internet. And it is in that career, I think, that I bring what's maybe unique or unique among the group here, in that much of my work has been tearing apart and analyzing problems and breaking them down into things that actually can be dealt with on a day-to-day basis, rather than just seeing them as big, ugly clouds. School district comes to mind. In the last 15 years, I've actually been a manager of teams of engineers, and I see Villa Park's administration as very similar to that. So even though I'm a little uncomfortable sitting here in suits and ties, I'm very comfortable with the small team hierarchy that the people of 5 that would sit behind me and the various committees. So I think I bring a lot to Villa Park as my experience applies. And I hope to talk to many of you, and I hope that you'll vote for me.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Nelson.
Good evening. Thanks to the League of Women Voters for having this. Thank all of you for coming out tonight.
certainly a great turnout. My name is Bill Nelson, and my family and I have resided in Villa Park for over 30 years. And we've been involved in a number of civic and community activities. And when I say we, I don't mean just me. My wife has also been involved in the community. I'm married to Eula Ward Nelson. She's a retired AT&T manager. And after she retired, she gave back to the community by going back and teaching elementary school. Well, currently, she's a Orange County Court-Appointed Special Advocate, or CASA, for foster children. She's also a commissioner on the Orange County Juvenile Justice Commission. Her interest has always been in youth. Mine has always been in business and other things. So I'm a candidate for the Villa Park Council, and I have a wealth of experience in public, private, and volunteer activities that I want to bring to Villa Park. I feel make me well qualified for the position. I think with my financial background, I believe I can make a significant contribution to the city. Some of my public experiences, I was appointed by former Supervisor Bill Campbell back in 2003 to the Orange County Cemetery District. And as chair, I was chair of the board in 2006 and 2010, and currently chair of the board, and also chair of the Finance Committee for the Orange County Cemetery District. As chair of the Finance Committee, I was developing an investment strategy that returned the district over $1 million more than they would with the alternative investment. They were investing Orange County Investment Pool, which was paying practically peanuts, and I developed a strategy where we earned additional $1 million. As chair of the board, I was instrumental in the district receiving what's called a District of Distinction, which only 22 districts out of over 1,000 special districts in the state has received this distinction. And we received District Transparency Excellence, all from the Special District Leadership Foundation. And I was also recognized as leader in special district governance by the foundation. In Villa Park, I served as chair of the Villa Park Investment Advisory Committee. On this committee, I also developed a conservative, diversified investment strategy that has increased Villa Park's return on investment and gave back significant amount of money to the general fund for the city. I also served on the board member and the past treasurer of the Villa Park Community Services Foundation, where I was involved in the 50th anniversary gala and the 50th anniversary celebration and a host of other events that you know the foundation puts on. I'm sure you all enjoy those events. My volunteer experience, I served on the 2002 and 2003 Orange County Grand Jury. On the Grand Jury, I chaired the Administrative Agents Committee and the Orientation Committee. And I also served on six years. Okay. I won't continue to tell you the rest of this. I'll put it in my closing statements.
Okay.
But I think I'm the right man with the right experience, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you. And so now we begin with the questions from the audience. I'm short and I'd get lost behind here, so I'm going to stand as long as I can. First of all, I'm going to go this way and ask each of you for these questions. The first question I'd like to know is, starting with Mr. Kitani this time, when is the city going to do something to address the traffic around our schools?
When is the city going to address it? That's a very good question. I think it should be a joint powers of authority that needs to address this in a proper way. Council as well as the Unified School District needs to get together and come with a proper solution to this problem. If that doesn't work, then we own our streets, and then we got to put the gavel down and just do what we need to do.
Mrs. Fascinelli.
The city has been working diligently for the last year with OUSD to try and fix a problem that has been around for a long time. We have 4,000 students that go to our 4 schools that come in and out every day, so 8,000 kids coming in and out in a very small area. I've been working with them, offering suggestions, trying to sell maybe one of the schools because we don't have the need to have 2 elementary schools that would give us some more room. As far as the streets getting larger, they're not going to get larger. I've suggested that they need to think about relocating some of the children and not taking in as many children from the city of Orange and actually changing their boundaries. And those are ideas that I've taken to them. And unfortunately, OUSD takes about 10 years to make any changes. So We're going to continue as a city to ask them. We're going to bring it up. We're going to tell them to change their boundaries and continue to ask them to do it. After a while, somebody will listen and not have 700 kids at Villa Park Elementary and 600 kids at Serrano. But that's the only answer, is to actually move some of the children out and change the boundaries. If we take half of the children out of Villa Park Elementary and put them over at Handy, Handy would be a #1 school. Everything would change. It would not be only an English as a second language school. So that would be my suggestion, and the city right now is dealing with it.
Thank you. Mr. Kreitzinger.
I think it's my opinion that in order to have anything happen, you have to have a group that is willing to listen. And it really is obvious in the last 10 years, no one's listening. And so what do you do with that? I know that you've been working hard to try to get them to listen. But, you know, at some point you have to take a hardline strategy with this group. And you have to demand this. And I think that is, you don't start with the people at the lower end. You've got to start at the top. And in my business, when I need to get things done, I find out who is the decision maker in this group to do it. And that's quite simply what I do. It's the same as if when you're buying a vehicle and you have a closer in this thing, and that person you want to get to the general manager to. So I think that we would identify who is the decision maker and take it upon a group or a committee to make that happen, as it has in my business.
Mr. Collicutt.
Yes, thank you. This has been an ongoing problem, and it's a very serious problem. As I mentioned, I've walked most of the city. I've walked all the neighborhoods around the schools. And all of the neighborhoods around the schools are impacted by this traffic situation. For example, the Prado Woods turns into a veritable freeway, I understand, after parents drop off their kids and race up the Prado Woods to get to Villa Park Road to get back on the freeway, becoming very dangerous. My neighborhood, which is over between Serrano Elementary and Sierra Villa, has 3 cul-de-sacs, about 100 homes, and many of those residents in there are original owners, and many of them have medical disabilities. It's not unusual to see the paramedics in those neighborhoods. And in fact, during the morning pickup and drop-off period, our streets are literally blocked. You cannot get through, and emergency vehicles cannot get through. Those residents are in peril. We've spoken to the city council about this for years. We started about 4 years ago. And we've talked with OUSD about this. And recently, we were directed by the city, by one of the councilmen, to put together a petition for no parking during certain hours on our streets. To the streets presented petitions with well over 2/3 residents asking for no parking. Anyway, we've got that, and because we were able to get that partially through City Council, we were able to meet with the Orange Unified School District, and we think at least the Citizens Committee is starting to see some movement in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Miller.
So this is an interesting one to start with, because literally the reason Birgit and I are in Villa Park is because we lived at Linda Vista's back gate for 16 years and dealt with the same situation that Featherhill and Serrano is dealing with now. We actually never found an answer. We never found an ear to listen. But in the years of past that, and then now more recently thinking about the problems we've got in the town here, I find that this is not a single problem asked in a very simple question that says traffic. It's actually at least 5 problems, where you have the drop-off turmoil, you have the weekend sports leagues, you have the after-school programs, you have the special events that might happen with convocations and parents coming in. I strongly suspect that there isn't a single silver bullet that fixes them all. Deanna was maybe closest in saying that drop the population, there aren't so many people coming in, and so that's actually not a bad suggestion. My suggestion is to start getting the committee system in the city to focus directly down on the school system, rather than having a committee that is perhaps distracted by many things. Be able to draw traffic and enforcement together and address each of the separate issues, maybe one by one or in pairs or whatever works, but don't try to treat it as a single problem.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson?
Yes, well, I'm appalled that the city council hasn't resolved this issue in the past, because it's been an issue for a long time. I think we're only going to resolve it when we take a hard line with the school district and cause them some discomfort. You know, I'm hoping that what the council did just recently was to stop parking on Feather Hill and Mountain View and Dotson. I'm hoping it's going to cause such a commotion on Serrano that parents won't be able to get their kids to school. Will get on the school board, and then they'll have to come up with some solutions. That's the only way you're going to do this. They're not hurting. It's not hurting them. So when you go to them and ask them for relief, it doesn't do any good. You got to make it uncomfortable for them. And that's the only way they're going to come to the table and resolve this issue. So if I'm elected, I will make sure that I'll work on getting this issue resolved.
Thank you. This next question is sort of related to that one, and I'm going to start with Mr. Colacott. How are you going to solve the parking problem?
Well,
What part?
I guess the parking problem may be associated with the school district, and I think it's part and parcel of the same issue, and that is that the schools have been converted from neighborhood schools to regional educational facilities, but the school district has not seen fit to provide for any additional parking or traffic mitigation around these facilities. So I agree with Bill. We need to take a hard line. We need to start controlling our parking and put the onus back on the school district to do just like what we asked or what we would expect of any private institution or business, provide parking and traffic mitigation for your facilities. Now, Orange Lutheran High School just completed an expansion. They came to us about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and they wanted to buy a parcel across the street from their campus for a parking structure. We turned out en masse and said no, that's not what we wanted to do with our part of our city. But they did do the responsible thing. They stepped forward and they wanted to provide parking mitigation before they constructed. We should ask nothing less than that of Orange Unified School District.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Well, certainly we should be putting pressure on the school district to at least use the land and facilities they've got. I presume the question is about the Feather Hill and Serrano area, but it certainly is applicable to all of the schools. But I think I'm on the side of putting the pressure on the school district to use their facilities in this one.
Mr. Nelson?
Well, if you're talking about the same issue about parking with the school,
It was parking rather than traffic.
I don't quite understand the question. If it's
Maybe
still related to the issue with the school, my answer is the same.
All right. Maybe we can quickly dismiss this one. All right, Mr. Kitani.
It is the same question. It's back to back. Some people call it a traffic situation. Some call it a parking situation. It's a parking more specifically for those that don't know. For the drop-off time and pickup time for the area that is affected, is that people are just parking on the streets and just waiting for sometimes 15, 20 minutes or a half an hour, and the kids are all over their lawns in front of their homes and just destroying a lot of things, and there's just no respect for those residents down there. So it's a parking related, but it's more of the traffic flow situation. So again, like I said, you got to put the gavel down. 10 years is much too long for all the residents that are there. You need to get the two authorities together, come up with a solution. Asking. Sometimes you got to just take the powers in your hand and shut the streets down and let the parents come back to you and just start ratting and raving, and maybe they'll listen to you.
May get people out to your city council meetings. Mrs. Pashinelli, do you see the same thing?
I see it a little differently. We can't build a parking structure or ask OUSD to build a parking structure for elementary schools. The children don't park. The parents park to walk their child into the front door. One of the ways that can be eliminated is the school itself says that a parent cannot walk their child into the school. That happens in a lot of daycares where they just drive up and they let the child out. And that's something that can happen when they're not allowed to park and walk their child in. That's an answer. May not be an answer that a lot of people like. They would queue up, and they drop their children off, and they would drive off. And that right there, they would not be parking on the street, except for maybe volunteers, a party, a band assembly, and so on. But that would be an answer for the parking on a daily basis.
Mr. Kreuziger?
And I think that's on the right track, is that you've got to educate the parents and make them responsible for this. And what we did at Salem up the street, we had to work with our neighbors up there, and it was a one-way in and a one-way out. And we found a way that we could look at a traffic and engineered study that showed the parents how to enter the facility, how to park, what time they were allowed to stage. And what we did is we took a mass chaos and turned it into an organized chaos somewhat. But what it did is it complemented the neighbors. They were allowed to get through there. We worked with the school to give them a plan to determine how to do it. So part of what we need to do is come up with some solutions that we can offer that may take a little bit of money, but it will create a lot less headaches. And I think if you do that, and you work with the school district and really work hard to get there, I think we can change this a little bit, and that would be my solution.
Okay, thank you, all of you. We'll get on to a different subject now. To all of you, do you know the difference between Neighborhood Watch and Community Watch? And I'm going to start with Mr. Nelson.
I know what Neighborhood Watch is. They had a meeting last night on here on Neighborhood Watch, but I'm not familiar with Community Watch. Neighborhood Watch is where, you know, the neighbors look out for one another and report any wrongdoing or thing in the neighborhood. But I'm not familiar with Community Watch.
And you, Mr. Keitani?
I am familiar with it, yes. Neighborhood Watch is, again, as Bill had mentioned, that it's more towards the streets, block captains, as we all met here yesterday. It's just kind of isolated within that one block area. When you do a community watch, you're all working together. And last night, one of the gentlemen did say that why can't we all get together and work as a community towards this whole entire watch. I think everybody on the streets and the residents of Villa Park are pretty much deputies out there and walking and strolling. And there are a lot of people do their morning walks, walk their dogs. We could be all, rather than saying it's not on my block, you know, make it more of a community affair and also safety for the community. And there are other aspects of it. One of them is, I believe, Long Beach, and also some of the other cities have done, which is called the an application. They give you a smartphone application. We could call it VP app. And while you're walking, you could just make your own little suggestions, and it gets reported right away. And it's a really good community affair and community watch type of a system. So instead of just isolating it down to one place, it's the whole community that gets involved. And you could take the whole city here and break it down into different quadrants and have different leaders of those areas and have some sort of a accountability where the council could be also part of it as well. Thank you.
Mrs. Fascinelli?
I don't know per se what community watch means, but I'm going to take a good jab at it. When I drive through the neighborhoods and I happen to know from social media or something that someone is out of town and I see a truck in their driveway and there's two kids getting out of it, the first thing that I do is I call someone who knows where they're at, and I say, hey, do they have a son? Do they have a friend? Is someone staying at their house? And they respond back just to make sure that we don't have a stranger trying to break in. And it's about being aware of your community. If I'm out around the high school and I see a bunch of kids on skateboards and they're skateboarding on somebody's patio or somebody's bench, I'm going to say something, I'm going to report something, and I'm going to be observant. And that's how I would define the community watch, if that's what it is.
Mr. Kreuziger?
Okay, well, we know what Neighborhood Watch is, and in fact, we signed up last night because our street was not part of that program. So Lori and I are now block captains in that, and we're happy to do so. And we were really block captains before because we already had everyone's cell numbers and communicate very well with our neighbors. And I think that's something that needs to happen more often in our own communities because some of us don't even know our neighbors. And I think what that does is it takes it upon yourself to be the one that does the introductions and starts those conversations. So we can, in essence, become a tighter community. If the definition is a community that watches over each other, that's what we need to be. And I don't think we're there yet. And we need help doing that. And that's with you people. You people are here because you are part of the community and you want to make it better. So let's extend that if we can.
Okay, Mr. Colacott.
Yes, well, as was mentioned, many of us were here last night in this very room for the Neighborhood Watch meeting, and I'd like to thank Wayne and Mary Sizell for putting that together and leading the charge to try to reinstitute that program. It's of course, Neighborhood Watch is a loosely organized neighborhood by neighborhood program to help us keep an eye on our neighborhoods, make sure that it stays safe, and it really provides another 6,000 sets of eyes for our single sheriff deputy to help maintain the safety of our community. Now, I'm not certain, but I believe Community Watch is more of a emergency preparedness type activity. It's more for, let's say, if there's, what do we do in the event of an earthquake? What do we do in case of any other types of disaster or maybe a major power outage, that sort of thing. And it's certainly complementary to Neighborhood Watch in a way, but it's a different focus.
Mr. Miller?
I think pretty much Community Watch has been said, but I think the one point that didn't come out on Neighborhood Watch is it's much finer focused on crime prevention and doesn't really attempt to be the social monitor for the neighborhood. And I think that more limited scope actually maybe makes it a little easier to be a contributing member of Neighborhood Watch. Community Watch, again, I don't know that I know the formal term of it, and this group right here might be a good example.
Thank you. Mrs. Fascinelli, if elected, will you take a poll of Villa Park homeowners to see if they would be interested in taking the electrical poles down in Villa Park?
Would I be interested in taking a survey? I would be interested in it. I don't think I need to, though, because everyone I talk to asks for the electrical poles to be buried. If there was a wish list for at least 95% of the residents that I speak to, including myself and the council, we would love as a city to bury them, but we don't have the money to do it. And I know I saw Pat Buttress in here, and maybe one day Southern California Edison might use us as a good test city to come in and bury all of our poles. But that is something that I would love to give back to the community if we won the lottery.
Mr. Cruciger.
That's about what it's going to take is the lottery. I also had a conversation with Pat Buttress yesterday about this very issue because it is concerning, and it is a unseemly sight that people want to look at. And with our conversation, we did the work at Taft in Santiago, I believe, and we used all of our funds under that SCE line item. In fact, we're not even eligible for another 15 years to even get them back. So although we would love to do that, it is almost cost prohibitive in our current budget to even consider that. The other option would be if you wanted as neighbors to create your own zone to do so, then you could be determined as an underground zone, I believe, and you could divide that cost by as many houses as you want to do that. And I'm not sure you want to do that. So maybe we just live with it.
Mr. Colacott.
Yes, well, not all of our neighborhoods have overhead utilities. Some, like on the other side of the Great Divide, the south side of the city where I used to live, do have underground utilities, and they don't need to have their power undergrounded. Some areas do, particularly on this side, and there are some on the south side as well. What I would, I think before I would do a poll, I would try to get a good estimate for those areas. What would it cost, so that people could make an informed decision as to whether they wanted to have undergrounded utilities. If we found that, given that cost, if people were interested, then we could propose assessment districts for those areas, and maybe the city could pitch in a little bit of money rather than building some of the other little projects around towns, kick in a little bit of money to support that, and plus use utility or an assessment district fund. But I think in making that decision, we need to be thinking, do we want to in 20 years from now, and 30 years from now, and 10 years from now, do we still want to be looking at the utility poles? But it needs to be left up to those people who would benefit and would then have to pay for the utility poles to decide whether they want to make that investment or not.
Mr. Miller?
So I agree that it's really unlikely and probably unfair for the city to take on the burden of burying the lines. We have some up by our house that I'd love to see gone. And I think I would definitely support the city trying to smooth the way for assessment districts. And I think we'll find that some streets in some areas will go for it and some won't. And that's probably about as good as we can do.
Okay, finally, Mr. Nelson. Not finally, but Mr. Nelson.
Yes, I would certainly support polling the public for that, along with, as Bob indicated, along with getting an estimate of what it would cost to do it. And since citizens were willing to do it, we should be able to do it. If you put together assessment districts to do it and they wanted to pay for it, then certainly we would do it. And I would also be interested in looking at any other kind of grants or things that we could get to help with it as well. Or maybe twisting Southern California Edison's arm.
Okay, Mr. Kitani.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of a mute subject. Even if you get a pole out there, I don't know if the city could really afford it. We should probably just wait till the Edison company would come around and have some special programs and some funding for us. I'm sure time will definitely come to that. Technology is moving up, and it will come around where they may want to just come and do some improvements here, and we may get some grants and have some assistance getting it done.
That was a quickie. This is a short question, but it may take a lot of answer or not. Maybe it's yes and no. What is your view on fireworks, Mr. Krotzinger?
That's not a yes or no answer.
Oh.
I'm sorry with that. Well, it's not only my view, it's your view, because it is on the ballot, right? You've got to make the choice this election if we're going to have fireworks or not, okay? I can give you my personal opinion with that. And, I think that the charities benefit. It's nice to be able to have people benefit from this. They made over $85,000 between the three groups, and that's a great opportunity for people to make money on that. We didn't have any fires this time. We didn't have any increased crime. We had clean streets. So really, it's really a personal preference. I can tell you that I don't particularly like to go through the smoke and hear illegal fireworks being taken off. And I would I would like to do what I used to do at Anaheim Hills, which would be able to have a community fireworks that is sponsored by community people and people that know what they're doing with fireworks, and have a whole bunch of people around that could make money. And we had a great event in Anaheim Hills, and we had bands. Not only does it bring the community together, it gives nonprofit people to make money, and it is regulated by people in this industry that know what they're doing. Okay, that's my opinion.
Okay, Mr. Colacott.
Well, yeah, it's on the ballot, and we all have our perspectives on fireworks. As a 33-year resident of the city of Villa Park, I'm aware of some pretty nasty fires that have hit this town, and even before my time, we had some pretty tough fires. I think we lost Crestoville, or parts of Crestoville, a couple of times with fires. Maybe we've been fortunate. I feel uncomfortable with fireworks myself, but really it's up to each individual citizen to cast their vote in the way that they feel. I agree with Carl. There are other communities in the county that do have fireworks as a community event. If that's something that Villa Park wants, perhaps we could provide fireworks in a specific area where there would not be a hazard, and maybe charge for admission or something, or associate a festival or something with it so that we can raise a little money in the process.
Mr. Miller.
So they scare the heck out of me, to be blunt.
Especially where you are.
I live up on the hillside there where we've got a bunch of tall eucalyptus around the house, and catching a skyrocket into one of those would be it is scary every weekend or every year. That's my personal opinion, but having it on the ballot is going to let it be settled out in a pretty fair manner. It's really hard to think of a way to substitute for the thousands of dollars that Carl mentioned. I don't know that we have the facilities inside the city to run an event, so that maybe we should look at it, certainly put it up for debate in front of us. But personal opinion, but everyone has to decide on their own.
Mr. Nelson?
Well, I think the city council made an excellent decision to put it to the voters for a vote. And I'm willing to live with whatever the voters want to do.
Okay, Mr. Catani?
I'm all for a celebration of the independence and fireworks. I totally love the idea of getting the kids and grandkids and everybody involved in doing the fireworks. Safe and sane fireworks is a wonderful thing to have. Celebrating independence, it's very important. My background kind of gives me that respect of celebration, and we need to not take it for granted, and it's just one day out of the year that we do this. Yes, it raises money and does everything. And I looked into it further, and I've also learned to find out that Villa Park is in a very combustible area. And for that reason, do we want to have illegal fireworks in your backyard? I don't think so. Do we keep it sane and safe in our front streets where it could be monitored and kept in a safer environment, and do it that way? It's everybody's choice now. I'm glad it's on the ballot, and I'm glad I'm not the only one having to make that decision. So it's up to everybody else. But I am happy that we could celebrate our independence and make the right choice, folks.
Mrs. Passionelli?
Having been on the council to bring fireworks back for the last 2 years, it has been a very successful 2 years, and it's been a fun 2 years for those of us who have partaked in it. I don't necessarily care, quite frankly, if the nonprofits make money or don't make money on it. It's a bonus. I look at it more as safe and sane fireworks are a personal responsibility. They're fun. You have to be responsible to use them. We're not talking about bottle rockets. I don't want bottle rockets going off on my property. But I also believe that it should have gone to a vote, and it is going to a vote. We've had 2 years. We've showed you what responsible communities can do with fireworks. And now the people will speak, and if the community wants it, we'll have it. And if they don't want it, then we won't have it.
That's okay. This next question, what will you do as a council person to make community more diverse and inclusive? And Mr. Miller, I'll start with you.
So this is actually a theme I've heard from a number of people. Not that we're going to go out and reach out and try and get people to move to the town, but I think that we maybe have on the order of 10 to 20% of the folks actually participating in anything. And so my take on this is that we need to reach out neighbor to neighbor inside the neighborhoods, neighborhood watch, community watch, whatever you want to call it. Start reaching out, trying to incorporate more people into our processes here, committees, neighborhood watch, whatever. And so it's not that we're going to achieve diversity through bringing other people in. It's actually, let's take advantage of the diversity we already have living here with us.
Mr. Nelson?
Well, I'd like to have a more diverse community. African Americans in Villa Park I think there's about 22 of us. So I would certainly like to have a more diverse community, but I'm not sure how you do that. You can reach out to other communities to try to get people to move to Villa Park. But on the other hand, we do have a fairly diverse, except for that, we do have a fairly diverse community. And I think really an excellent one. So I don't know if there's a lot that needs to be done.
Mr. Catani?
Oh, it's a very interesting question. We have a community development committee that some of the council members serve, and just listening to the couple of the other candidates here, it just kind of occurred to me, the way to integrate this community more so. We do a lot of different events, and a good way to bring the community together would be doing maybe a cultural show where, people from different cultures that come together and share that. We could set it up somewhere in a nice facility, maybe a school auditorium or something like that, and, they bring back a little bit of a culture, and that might be a way to bring the community together and get them to integrate a little bit better. And that would be my first and foremost take on doing that.
Mrs. Fascinelli?
Well, this is an interesting question because this afternoon I pulled up the census, the last census we had, and based on our population, it actually gave me a breakdown. And I want you to know that the majority of people are German in Villa Park. 1,200 people. And I went down the list and I was very surprised because I was quite frank. I am Greek and I was looking for Greek, and there's 126 of us that live in Villa Park. So we have a very diverse community.
Yeah.
How do we integrate them? Knock on their door and say hi. Introduce yourself. Take them a cake, say hi, invite them to the Women's League meeting, invite them to an event like this, invite them to a bunco or something that happens, or to the library. If we don't talk to our neighbors, you can't integrate anybody. But we're here. We've got a great mix of people because, let's see, we have, I think, 130 Welsh people that live here too. It was very, very interesting to see who lives here. So we're there. Just start talking to your neighbors, and we'll be able to mesh a little bit.
Mr. Kurtzinger?
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's the same comment I had with our neighborhood watch. We have the diversity, but they're all behind closed doors. I mean, it's what I think some of our neighbors call the Villa Park 1500. It's the same 1,500 people that kind of do everything together. And where are the rest of those people? We see a decline in our annual picnic, continuing to do that. How do we get the word out and really encourage people? And that is done with the core group of people within our community that need to take an extra step and do those things like knock on the doors. Bring your neighborhoods together with neighborhood parties. It's about communication, people. That's what it's really about. And we have special groups that are reaching out to do that. I think our diversity also is between the older community and the younger community. And there's a great difference in there. When I came into Villa Park and was going to some of the events, it was clear that we were the young ones, which was kind of neat in there. And they were so happy to see us. And that's what really kept us in with this community, is corresponding with the people of a different generation that give us wonderful insights about what life is like. And if you can do that and get people to come to those things, I think we would have such more community moving forward. And that's what I would really push, is a more interaction between the younger and older people, because a lot of you help us really get through some issues in our lives. So.
Okay, Mr. Colacott.
Well, I've been, knocking on doors all over the city for over a month now, and from what I've seen, we are pretty diverse already. We're certainly not exclusive. There's nobody preventing anybody from moving into our community except for the banks willing to give loans. It's expensive to live here. And also, there aren't very many houses for sale. People, when they land in Villa Park, we tend to stay because we like it. And as houses turn over the years, will become more and more diverse and it'll look more and more like the rest of Southern California. I think we also have lots of opportunities for people to get involved if they choose. Certainly we want to encourage people to participate, but frankly, all of us people are very busy. We're all, that's how we got here. We've got a lot going on in our lives, and, if we don't have time to participate in a lot of community events, we don't. If we do, if we do have the time, we like to. But I don't really see that as a problem in our community. I think we've got the opportunities for people. We're already diverse, and I think we've got great opportunities for people to participate.
Thank you. This next question for Mr. Catani. What will you do as a council person? That's the wrong question. Sorry about that. Prior to running for Villa Park City Council this year, what has been your involvement in Villa Park?
I was very much involved with the school activities when my kids were growing up, and you know, my daughter played softball, so I was with that, and she was also doing the swimming and everything. My son was played a little bit of the basketball, but then as they were growing up and more time was involved with them, I kind of backed off with businesses and everything. But now I've been more so involved again. There's time in my hands here, again getting involved with the Rotary and. Also getting involved with the foundation, and just want to give back again now.
Mrs. Fascinelli.
Oh, I can speak about my involvement prior to being on the council. I answered an ad that was in the newspaper for the foundation, and I believe Joe Cooley actually answered, and I said, hi, this is Deanna, and I want to do something for the foundation. She says, what do you want to do? And I said, anything but cook. And the picnic was coming up. I said, I cook enough, I don't want to cook there. Trying to get involved with the city is very easy. I made a lot of friends. I have been in charge of 5th grade fundraising for 3 years over at the elementary school, which has kind of moved me over into the city because I get to come to all the events, because I get to raise money for the schools to do that. And I have volunteered for the Rotary, although I am not involved in the Rotary because I can't make the meetings, but I volunteer for them also. So I think I do quite a bit when it comes to that.
Mr. Krutzinger.
My involvement is taking part in some of the events that they put on, and I have to say that one of my favorite ones is the boat parade, and that is an annual event for our family that we always are a part of. It's really the start of our Christmas in that, and glad to say we're a 10-time winner with wonderful trophies that we get, because we've really put a lot of effort into that. But that was one good thing. Our neighbors really have been part of our getting us involved in our neighborhood, Gerald and Jim and Carol Reichert. And they have brought us to a lot of different events, the Christmas parties and those type of things that I'd mentioned before. But until lately, having the time to do community service with my youngest daughter being gone, is really why I'm doing this today, is that I have time to do that and involve myself in this community at this level, and I look forward to doing that.
Okay, Mr. Colacott.
Well, like most of us, most of my involvement in the community revolved around my kids to begin with. Little League, high school baseball, travel ball. I was a Cub Scout den leader for a number of years, all the way from beginning of Cub Scouts all the way through Webelos, and I'm proud to say that in my den, I had a very large den, 10 boys, and all 10 of those boys achieved the Arrow of Light, which is the highest award you can get in Cub Scouts. That was a lot of fun. Then we got involved with Boy Scouts. Of course, helping out with cross-country teams and all the stuff you get involved with kids. Also participated, which was kind of unusual for a dad, I guess. I got involved with the schools, particularly at Villa Park Elementary. I used to go to the classroom during kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, and read for 30 minutes once a week. And that was always a lot of fun. I guess the big community involvement I've had most recently, though, has been dealing with the school traffic situation. My next-door neighbor was recovering from some brain surgery, and her then 93-year-old dad had a medical problem, and she had to, because of the traffic congestion down at the end of the street where nobody could, the emergency vehicles couldn't get to our neighborhood, she had to literally pick the man up, carry him out to the garage, put him in the car, and fight through the traffic to get him to the emergency room. No resident of Villa Park should need to deal with that. And and that's one of the things I'd like to address on the City Council, is help to get this traffic situation under control, as well as many other issues here at the city as well. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Miller.
So in the deeper past, I actually had some experience working with the school district when they ran a strong gate program. I actually was on the parent committee and chaired the committee for quite a while that provided oversight to the district. And that involved more than just Villa Park. That was the entire OUSD gate program. And then more recently, it's been a lot more fun and giving my wife as much assistance as I can with the Women's League. And that's been a very entertaining thing.
Mr. Nelson.
Well, as I say, I've been here 30 years, and I've been involved in Villa Park for the 30 years. You know, I've served as assistant cup master and scout master with Villa Park's Troop 850. I was vice president of operations and a manager of one of the Little League team. And during my 10 years as Little League manager, I was 20-2. The only 2 times I lost is when I was out of town. So I had to scold my assistant managers. And as a result of that, I also managed the Villa Park All-Star team. As I said in my opening, I chair the Villa Park Investment Advisory Committee. I've been on that committee for the last 10 years. And I served about 4.5 years on the Villa Park Community Services Foundation as a board member and a treasurer, and was involved in a number of activities there, the 50th anniversary celebration, the gala, the boat parade, the picnic, the Halloween fest, the adopt a dog, walk a dog, all of their, yeah, all of their activities. So I've had considerable involvement in the community over the 30-year period.
Thank you. This will be for Mr. Colacott. What is your opinion why Chase pulled out of negotiations on Town Center?
Well, I don't have an opinion on that. What I understand is that by the time that Chase got to a point where they felt they could go forward, that they had some other financial obligations related to their involvement with the mortgage debacle from a few years past, and they had to make a major payment out for that. So they stopped all construction nationwide. So that's my understanding. I don't really have an opinion.
Mr. Miller?
I think I don't know enough to have much of an opinion. We've heard rumors that the council being involved upset them, but I don't think that's really completely true. So I don't have much of an opinion.
Mr. Nelson?
Well, I don't have an opinion either. I did sit in on some of the city council meetings where Chase talked to the city about, building a bank there. And I know the city council wanted them to put in some more retail space there. I don't know whether that was a deal killer or not. I have no idea why the project did not go forward. I thought they were really moving forward with it. And I thought the council was doing a good job in trying to get some additional retail space to get some additional sales tax revenue for the city. But I don't know why it was killed.
Mr. Kitani, do you know why?
Matter of fact, I do know. I had the opportunity to meet with the original owners of that land who sold it, and from what I've been told, when Chase was approved, the land was kind of tied up in some litigation or some encumbrances, and it didn't kind of clear up. And while they were waiting, it just became too long of a wait. And in my personal opinion, it's not part of the question, but I'm glad Chase is not coming here. We have a lot of banks already. We need some kind of a retail over there that brings us some revenue for the city.
Yes.
Mrs. Fascinelli?
The Chase Bank entered into a private agreement with the owners of the land that's there. The land has never been, it was not sold. It was there. They entered into a private agreement. It had an intent to put the Chase Bank there. The council had given them their CUP and had granted it, and they pulled out of a private deal with the owners, and it had nothing at all to do with the city.
Mr. Kreitziger?
If that's the story, I have no idea. I mean, I'm a little bit with Jay on that, is that how many banks do we need in our center? And do we have a vital retail component that will really give us the opportunity, to use it? And I just think that we don't need to be Wall Street of Villa Park. We need to have independent companies. I prefer independent family-run companies that we can go, like the Coffee Grove, like the Post, that we can support in our community. And that's what I would be looking for.
Okay, let's see, one more. I started with you, didn't I? Mr. Colacott? I began with you on that one, didn't I?
Yes,
Yes, okay, so I'm going to start with Mr. Miller on this one. What is your opinion? Oh, there I am again. How will you deal with CalPERS if you are elected?
Oh,
Mr.
that's
Miller.
interesting. So I actually support the direction the council's taking right now with CalPERS in attempting to discover what our future obligations could possibly be. I mean, that's the worst, one of the worst things that could be facing the city is just the unknowns coming down the pipeline at us. And if the better informed we are, the more of a better plan we can make. I think I agree with the council that's unlikely we can actually afford the price tag that they're going to give us, but we should at least know what it is.
Mr. Nelson.
Well, my opinion on that is that the city's going to get the number, you know, what it costs to get out, but they're not going to be able to afford to get out because the number's going to be close to the number they've already given them. My opinion, though, on CalPERS is the reason we're in this shape is because past city officials, as well as other government officials, have made this mistake in the past. In about 2000, CalPERS was fully funded. And some cities and counties and other agencies took pension holidays. They didn't contribute to there. And so after that, they also increased the benefits. I think it's 2% at 55 now, which in my opinion is a very generous benefit. You know, that's what gets you into trouble. When you give these benefits to employees like that, then you run up this huge unfunded liability. So my take on it is, if we hadn't given these good benefits, we wouldn't be in this condition now. You know, and I've taken a position in Orange County Cemetery District where I'm a trustee at. I've taken a hard line in union negotiations. You know, for example, our employees were, as many agencies do, they were paying the employees' share of the pension contribution. How does that make sense? It's called the employee share. So in our last negotiation, we took that away. The employees are paying that now. I'm not forgiving these enhanced benefits to employees that really drive some of these cities and counties into bankruptcy.
Mr. Catani?
Could you repeat that question for me one more time, please? I just want to
How
make
will
sure.
you deal with CalPERS if you are elected?
I don't think any of us really have a true answer for that. It's just, it's like trying to get a payoff on your mortgage. You know, it fluctuates every day. The city council is doing whatever they can do. They have asked for a settlement on that. I believe that request has been put in. I attended the last few council meetings for the last few months. It's just, it's very vague out there. We don't know what it's going to cost, and I personally don't know how to approach it because we don't know and we don't have a clear picture on this. It changes day to day, and once we get that in front of us, we'll know how to address it.
Mrs. Fascinelli?
Well, the council has addressed it, and we have sent a letter with our intent to terminate, which will give us a number. Doesn't mean that we can do anything, but the bigger picture is that we started a movement. And there are other cities now looking at our little city saying, oh, wow, if they can do that, I wonder what our number is going to be. You know, our mayor today was called by the mayor of San Jose saying, I want to talk to you about this. So we have awareness out there, and that's what we have. We have a voice, and they're listening.
Mr. Kritzinger?
I sit on our investment committee, which manages the funds for over 500 of our employees. And there's 5 of us that work with our wealth management to really understand what the decisions are being made that will allow our employees to get the best benefits and returns and matching of our 401k. And with good benefits come good people. And good people stay retained at their position, you know. And we want to retain people within this city that are good. So how that affects us in terms of CalPERS is we're in a pickle right now, as everyone else said. There's no way that we can really get out of it. And is there any future way that we can, over our tenure, that we're going to make decisions that we're going to pull out? I don't think so. But the fact that this has been exposed, I think, is a good thing for us. And if it brings other cities and we can have a coalition of people that get together and say, you need to change this chaos that you've created because it doesn't work. I think that's what this is going to be about. But we need to continue to give good benefits to the people that work in this city, right? And because we want them to stay, we don't want to bring our city managers and revolve them out of here every couple years. And I think that's my opinion on that.
Mr. Colacott?
Yes. Well, certainly we're going to get a number, and it's not going to be very pretty. It's going to be a large number, and as everybody acknowledges, we're not going to be able to afford to buy our way out of CalPERS. However, I think we need to start taking a long-term view. As employees retire and move on, we should start replacing them with contract employees. You know, we like our maintenance guys, but as they retire, rather than having our own maintenance staff, why not contract that out? We don't have to deal with any kind of a retirement. We just pay a bill every month, just like we all do for our gardeners. You know, and I think there are other, even the city manager we could do under a contract. No city manager is going to stay in Villa Park when they can move on to a larger city with better benefits and better pay and so forth. So, you know, whether we give them a great benefit package or not, it's not going to keep them. And that may be another position that we could put out to contract. But we need to start thinking out of the box and looking for ways to start to distance ourselves from CalPERS. We'll still have this unfunded liability, but over years, over time, it'll diminish and ultimately go away.
This next question, Mr. Nelson. What innovations would you bring to make a better Villa Park?
Well, I think I've already made innovations in the financial area in the Villa Park Investment Advisory Committee, and I would expect to find different innovative ways to increase Villa Park's finances.
That's it? You're
Well,
done?
that's my area of expertise. That's what I'd like to bring.
Mr. Catani?
I wish we had some more land out there that we could kind of get innovative with, but this whole entire city is pretty much developed. It's a community that has just fully grown itself. You don't want to make it a high rise here and kind of get innovative with the improvements within the city. What can you do? That's a very, very good question. It's just bringing in all the talents that we all have in this business, in this community, actually. Bring all of those people in, get the integration going, and see what we could do as a community to improve our city. I would not be able to tell you a direct answer to that question. I just don't know as far as, you know, what we could do. It's just a fully grown city. We wish we had some more land. We could do some retail and some more community outings in certain areas, but we have to always go out. So do some innovating ideas here. I guess the electrical undergrounding is the one big innovative thing you can do.
Mrs. Fascinelli?
Bringing some modernization and making our city greener. We already have plans if and when we ever have a building that goes into the old gas station, that we would put some charging stations in there for the electrical vehicles that everybody is right now driving. Doing the landscaping where it's drought tolerant so that we don't have the water bill, we don't have the electricity bill that's coming out of there, as well as the maintenance. My idea of seeing Villa Park is that we need to come up to being a little bit more green and being a society where the young people want to stay around, they want to ride their bikes, and we want to make it a little bit more friendly and modernized a little.
I think what's happening is, you know, innovation and technology has really come in our cell phone. And there's so much information that we have on our cell phone that I think that we could develop applications which would allow us to really be in a position to communicate a lot better in terms of our neighborhood watch, in terms of what's happening with us. I mean, if you really look at the innovative companies like Google and those type of companies, you know, it's all about applications and communication. And I think that we would have the ability to do something like that. And I also agree with you on the way that we need to be a greener and a lead. I'm a lead specialist that deals with those type of things. And we need to cut down our carbon footprint and do things better for our community.
Mr. Colacott?
Well, I guess I'm more of a meat and potatoes guy when it comes to being innovative. I think that, as I described, we're faced with a lot of challenges, both internally and from the surrounding community on trying to maintain Villa Park. Everybody loves Villa Park just the way it is, and we want to keep it that way. But we need to be innovative in thinking about how we're going to get there. We need to develop a vision as to where we want to be in 10, 20 years and figure out plans on how we're going to get there. We need to recognize these challenges and how are we going to keep our retail center going? What do we want that retail center to look like in 20, 30 years? What are we going to do in terms of these school properties? We need to be looking at what's going on in the community and how we can keep our city the way we want it to be with all the changes going on around us, and develop plans on how we're going to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Miller.
So we certainly have to pay attention to the technology items coming at us, and to me as an engineer this is tons of fun, but we've had current council talking about cameras, and you wonder whether perhaps applying some of that to the Serrano traffic enforcement might be interesting. And we also see inroad or plenty of activity around rooftop solar. I certainly would love to support the city paving the way and making that easier, but that also touches on another area that we want to consider with respect to code enforcement. It feels to me that the city, both in new, for instance, rooftop solar, and in existing homes, needs to find another way and maybe a more organized way to do code enforcement than just sort of relying on neighbors to act as police against other neighbors. So if I was going to look for innovation in our city administrations and our city structure, it would be in accommodating technology and in advancing how we deal with our own people.
Okay, we've come back to Mrs. Fascinelli. What's your stand on Measure K? And incidentally, there were 4 questions with this same question, so it must be of interest to the audience. Once again, what's your stand on Measure K? And if you're against it, how do you propose to renovate our schools?
Oh, that's a big, that's a completely different question, how to renovate. But as far as Measure K goes, for the audience here, when I speak for the city of Villa Park. And I speak that we have a lot of homeowners that are on a fixed income. We have a lot of young people who have moved in, who have purchased million-dollar homes also, that pay property taxes on million-dollar homes. And to have another expense of an additional $300 a year that goes up every year, to me is a Prop 13 being reversed, taxed. That's all it is. And I understand that the school needs renovation, and it can't get done without money. I don't have an answer as to how to raise $300 million. I don't have that. But Orange Unified School District has not put any money into these schools. Canyon High School is new, set 1978. There's no reason that school should look as bad as Orange High looks right now. So I don't have the answer, but I'm not willing to support a $300 million bond with the current track record of Orange Unified School District. We have an elementary school that is behind gates right now at Villa Park Elementary. That's due to lack of maintenance. They've already done that once. So I don't know what the answer is. It may be close a school and relocate the children to the 3 different schools. We go to Canyon, some go there, and we renovate one. But I don't think that the homeowners in Villa Park should be supporting the bond when they only have 500 children who go to the 4 schools.
Well, Mr. Kreuziger.
Yeah, this is obviously a sensitive issue. Our schools are 40 to 60 years old. They lack the infrastructure of our competitor schools in Irvine and Yorba Linda. Our kids are not getting that type of education. My kids went to Orange Lutheran and had an outstanding education there. Laptop was iPad was part of the curriculum. So do we have an opportunity to change this with this $296 million bond? Under Proposition 30, they told us by increasing our income taxes and sale taxes, they were going to have billions of dollars for us, and that was 2 years ago. Where is the money? Where is it? It's got to be somewhere, right? So let's, I feel uncomfortable in saying that with this, that we're going to build a $74 million school. Beautiful. If any of you have seen the renderings, in fact, the designer I know personally who did those at LPA, and I'm not sure that we could afford it at $74 million. That may only be a down payment for us. Listen, I am all about improving schools, and personally, I could probably afford to pay that tax if that is what our kids needed. But at this point, I can't give $296 million to a citizens oversight committee in the school district and think that they'll be responsible to do this. And that is only my opinion. You make the decision, you make the vote. I can tell you, if it passes, I feel that I would be the strongest on this council to put Villa Park in and understand what it's going to take to build that school and put our best position in making sure it got built the right way. Thank you.
Mr. Colacott.
Well, I'm a relatively new resident. I've only been here for 33 years, but I know since virtually the day I moved to Villa Park and became was located within the Orange Unified School District, it seems like it's been issue after issue and problem after problem with the Orange Unified School District. I don't think they've ever demonstrated that they can operate those schools responsibly, and one only needs to look at those the school facilities to understand that. My son graduated from Villa Park High School a couple years ago, and he's over 6'4", wouldn't go in the restrooms because they were intolerable. I was talking to a neighbor of Kathy Moffitt's who lives just across the street from Villa Park High School. Her daughter runs home to use the restrooms. What have we got going here? Why is the school district not better maintaining our facilities? Now, we have homes that are as old as some of these school facilities. If something needs to get fixed, we fix it. We don't let it get to such a point of disrepair that we tear our houses down and rebuild them. And I don't think the Orange Unified School District should do that either. I guess one of the questions I have for the Orange Unified School District is, why are the administrators in the best school facility and using them as administrative offices when we've got all these other schools in such disrepair? There are too many questions in my mind to support Measure K.
Thank you. Mr. Miller.
So it's clearly a personal opinion. Everyone should go read those documents and perhaps not see what's not there. The schools are a mess. I think like Bob's. My son got an excellent education in Orange Unified and went on to Berkeley. Now lives in the Bay Area. So in spite of the facilities, he got a great education. It's terribly sad to see the schools in the shape they are. I have no idea of how to raise the money, but it's clear the school, Orange Unified, has no way to properly control and spend the money. So until we see that documented somehow, until we see some accountability in there, I see no way that we should hand them that amount of money.
Mr. Nelson.
Well, I certainly support the schools. And Villa Park High School certainly needs some rehabilitation because I think we need to offer the best education we can to our kids in the neighborhood. I think we really need to do that. Also, good schools keeps our property values high as well. So it's in our self-interest, whether we have kids in school or not, to have good schools in the neighborhood to keep our property values up. I do have a concern about the price that they're charging. It's $74 million a school. Seems rather high to me. They have a meeting, as I understand, tomorrow where they're going to give the architectural drawings, and I'd like to go to that meeting tomorrow and find out more information on it.
Mr. Catani.
One of the main reasons why we moved to Villa Park is because I originally used to live in the West Side when my kids were in private school. And my son was of the age of high school, and we wanted to put him into a public school because that's what I did. I grew up in public schooling, and I wanted to have that streetwise and that interaction with the public in general. So first thing a real estate agent does is that says, hey, this great schools, and your property values are great because knowing the schools are so beneficial to whoever's moving in. So I agree that the property values will keep up. But I've also learned that, in time and time, we all improve our homes. And these schools for the last 40 to 60 years have never been improved. These are high schools we're talking about. We got, Villa Park High, Cannon High, El Medina, and Orange that need these improvements. My kids at first hand said these schools, even this was 10 years ago, that they were really dated compared to what we had to face. And at times they had to come home with classrooms with not having good air conditioning and all that. I totally want to say that Measure K is the benefit for all of us, and for the amount of money that we all have to put in. For $1 million home, it's going to cost you $390 a year. Maybe it'll go increasing a little bit more in there over time, but it can't be into the thousands per year in property taxes. But the ROI, I'm a businessman, the return on your investment, it's going to be in tenfolds. You're getting double-digit returns on your. I think the contribution is about 4%. It's not very much for Villa Park. We have a very small population that's contributing towards this, and we're getting a better return on our money.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kreuziger, in the last 6 months, how many times have you attended a council meeting?
Well, lately, quite a few, I can say. And does that mean present, or is it on VPTV? Because I'm very comfortable at home watching VPTV. So I could say in the last 6 months, both here and at home, 4 times.
Okay. Mr. Kolakak.
Probably about 3 times.
Mr. Nelson. Miller, I'm sorry.
Miller.
Mr. Miller.
Just skip over Mr.
So
Miller.
I'm with Bob. 3.
I've attended 4 times in person.
Mr. Katani.
In person, I've been here for the last, about 2 or 3 meetings recently. I've watched it on the close TV channels, and I've viewed so many past meetings just to get brisk on everything and what's going on in the city and what has transpired. I went back as much as the last couple of years and viewed some of these YouTubes and the streams that were there, just so I could get along and know what's required as a councilman. So I've viewed a lot of them and attended just a handful when it comes down to personally.
I'm going to ask Mrs. Fascinelli to answer that.
6.
And then, as long as I have your attention, I'm going to, this is for you from somebody in the audience. Why were you so unsupportive of the residents having restricted parking permits for 90 days?
I'm assuming this must be for Featherhill and for Serrano. I don't want Villa Park to become a community of private streets and of gated neighborhoods. That's not who we are. I realize that we want our privacy and we don't like people parking in front of our house, and the school traffic is an issue. I think we're working towards it. We're not working fast enough. I can't say how hard the past councils worked on the issue, but I just don't want to see private streets and gates all over the city. It's not friendly to have permitted parking 24 hours a day in an area where there's a school, and no disrespect when I say it, the school was there when the homes were built. So we have to come up with a solution, but I don't think it's fair that we have people who do attend the schools that they can't park there. So, but was it my decision? I believe in the system. The council voted for it, and that's how it is. And I support it. Once the council votes, and in its majority, I support it.
Okay, this is to all of you, and for the life of me, I'm not sure what it says. I'll read it, and maybe somebody can clarify it for me. The question is, are you in favor of car license cameras for the city? You know what it means, all of you?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you know what it means. And we'll start with Mr. Miller.
Okay. The license plate readers is a really sort of scary big brother thing. And, you know, I live about as clean a life as I possibly could imagine. I'm still scared about it. But the reality is this is a question where perhaps the cow's already left the barn. And so I'm certainly not in favor of it. It just worries me that the large databases that are accumulated in Virginia can easily be hacked. They will be hacked. There's just, and this is the business I'm in. So sooner or later, all that accumulated license plate data is going to be scanned, and prominent people will be plucked out of there just based on the license plate they have in their car, and then their trips to the local Democratic national headquarters are going to be exposed all over the local newspaper. So that's my biggest worry about it. I think that it's present in almost all of Orange County already, and that our contracts with the sheriff, in one way or another, we're probably already participating. When they go look for a suspicious vehicle that's been spotted in Villa Park, for instance, they'll be querying the database already. So it may be a moot question about whether or not we actually participate. I think that maybe the best we can do is try to enforce some time limits and some safety limits on the data that's held, and maybe force the industry to recognize that it has to be treated with some really exquisite care.
Mr. Nelson.
I'm not in favor of the vehicle license plate readers. I think it's a total invasion of your privacy. I think we have too much of Big Brother, you know, looking at us in all kinds of ways. I understand it's a crime-fighting tool, but let's face it, Villa Park doesn't have a lot of crime to begin with, you know. So why do we need these intrusive measures, you know, to come into the city? I'm totally not in favor of it.
Mr. Catani.
I am also not in favor of it. I don't think cameras are necessary in some strategic locations. Other cities and sheriff's departments now have license plate readers already in their rearview mirrors, so when they're driving, it picks up on a lot of license plates as it is. And eventually it's going to come around to us anyway, and maybe some of the sheriff cars that do roll around here, they may not activate it, but it's already being tested and is already being used. For us to do that here, I don't think it's necessary. Absolutely not.
Okay. This is a yes or no question. I think we can deal with it very quickly, and I'm just going to start with you and go down the line. Have you read the latest budget booklet, yes or no?
Yes.
Mrs. Faschinelli.
Are you in favor or
Should
not?
we do the license?
Oh, I'm sorry. We
That's okay.
He got lost.
That's okay. I thought maybe you were like mixing things
No,
around for a
I didn't
while.
mean to do that.
Okay.
You just said yes or no.
Yeah. I'm not in favor
This
of
is
the
the
city
license, yeah.
participating in the license plate reader. The city of Orange is already started to do it. They are equipping their cars and their city. The other cities do it everywhere. I hate to tell everyone, if they want to pull up your license plate, they're going to tell you where you've been. If we paid for it, we would just be assisting the other cities, and I think we're too small, then we don't need to take that burden on. So.
Okay, Mr. Krutzinger.
And I agree. On to the next one.
And Mr. Colacott.
I agree as well, and when I was sitting behind the sheriff deputy when that agenda item came up, and he wasn't particularly excited about it either. He didn't feel like it would provide him that much additional effectiveness in terms of preventing or solving crime. So it's like, why do it? And particularly considering the other issues associated with vehicle license readers.
So now, these are yes or no. Okay. Have you read the latest budget booklet, Mr. Catani?
Yes.
Mrs. Faschinelli.
Yes.
Mr. Krutzinger.
No, yes, and I do want to state that I commend the current city council for having $1.3 million in additional funds and another 360 in designated reserves. You've done an excellent job in keeping our budget well aligned.
Mr. Colacott.
Yes, I did.
Mr. Miller. Yes. Mr. Nelson.
Yes, and I've read it for years, and I want to compliment them that Villa Park has really an excellent budget document. Each year they win this Distinguished Budget Award from the Government Finance Officers Association. And it's really a fine, well put together budget. In fact, I'm pressing my district to come up to the standards that they have, because they really have an excellent budget document. And their finance director should be complimented, but she does a really excellent job.
And this is the last question, and it's also yes or no, and I'm going to start with you, Mr. Nelson.
Okay.
Have you asked to read the agenda book prior to a council meeting?
Have
you asked to read the agenda book prior to a council meeting?
Oh, have I read one?
I think that's what it means.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've read. I read almost all of the council agendas along with the supporting documentation with it as well.
Okay.
I go online and read it. It's one of the things that when I talked about our district getting a district of transparency, Villa Park is one of the most transparent cities that's around. They really have an excellent website. They have all the information on there. They got the agenda. They got the supporting staff reports and everything with it. Everything you want to know about the city is on their website.
How about you, Mr. Miller? Yes or no? Have you read the agenda
So,
book prior
yes,
to the
and-
council meeting?
Yes, and I really wanted to commend the cities, someone like Bill, but they've recently been supplying those to the candidates.
Mr. Colacott?
Yes.
Yes?
Mr. Kreuziger? Mrs. Spashinelli? And Mr.
Yes.
Catano? Oh, I want to, I'll commend you already, but I'm now going to start with Mr. Nelson giving his 2-minute final speech. But we've done really well. It's
Okay.
not yet 9 o'clock, and we're doing just fine. Please continue.
Okay, well, since you cut me off in mine,
Sorry about that.
I will just continue. I want to tell you about my business experience too. I have 25 years as a financial executive with ARCO, two major corporations, Atlantic Richfield Company, ARCO, and Southern California Gas Company. At ARCO, I was controller of the ARCO Transportation Alaska, Inc. That's the unit that oversaw ARCO's interest in the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. The Trans-Alaska Pipeline is a pipeline that brought crude oil from the North Slope to southern part of Alaska to a warm port. At one time, the Trans-Alaska Pipeline had a throughput of over 2 million barrels of oil a day, and at that time was about 25% of our nation's oil supply. At Southern California Gas, I had leadership responsibility for their natural gas vehicle marketing unit for developing and implementing financial systems there. I also want to tell you about some association experience I had as well. I currently serve on the California Special Districts Association's board director, and I'm also treasurer there and chair of the physical committee and a member of the membership committee. I was elected to 2015 vice president at the annual conference yesterday in Palm Springs. And by the way, I had to leave sunny Palm Springs today to come here for this meeting tonight. They're still there partying, and I'm here at the candidate forum. This is a trade association for over 1,000 special districts in California, like the cemetery districts that I'm on, water districts, park and recreation districts, fire districts, hospital districts, sanitation districts, vector control districts. These are all the kind of districts that some of the council people sit on as well. So we represent the council on that as well. And I just wanted to indicate that I want to take all this experience I've had, bring it here, and bring it more local and do more for Villa Park with the experience that I have from these other organizations. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
So I think we've seen a spectrum of types of people here, but one thing I've noted across the group, I think probably I've got the deepest technical experience. In fact, 40 years of tearing apart problems and working on everything from Navy ships to manufacturing facilities to complex systems for the internet. Has me much more attuned, I believe, to the infrastructure and the roads, the sewer, just the facilities that the city has to maintain. And I think that I can bring a lot of experience into this mix and out of this group. So, vote for me.
Mr. Colacott.
Okay, well, much of my experience is described in the Century and my campaign materials. I won't bore you too much with that, but I've got probably a unique perspective because I was the youngest division manager at the County of Orange at one time, and I've also been a manager in the private sector as well. So I've got management experience on both sides. I've also been president of the American Public Works Association. My background in public works is extensive. And in fact, I organized what has become a statewide organization dealing with a regulatory program that our city got fined $60,000 on for noncompliance a few years back. And this is an organization of all the cities and counties throughout California now. But as I described in my opening statement, we all love Villa Park and want to keep it as it is: quiet, peaceful, beautiful, and safe. However, Villa Park faces significant challenges in trying to achieve this objective. Villa Park needs strong leadership and a strategic plan to sustain the city that we love into the future. As your councilman, the three most important things I will address with the council and the community are development of a vision of what we'd like Villa Park to be in the future. As a community, where do we want to be in 10 years or in 20 years? We'll develop strategic plans to achieve the vision, including schedules and milestones to measure our progress, and secure commitments to achieve these plans. We have amazing assets in the legal, financial, engineering, and planning skills in our community. As your councilman, I will work with the council to invite our citizens to participate in developing and implementing the action plans. As your councilman, I will provide vision and strong, focused, and principled leadership. I'll promote collaborative problem solving with the county, the City of Orange, and OUSD. However, as your councilman, Villa Park and the safety of our residents, especially our seniors, will always come first. With your vote, I'll work with the council and the community to provide leadership to preserve and enhance what we all love about Villa Park. Thank you.
And thank you. Mr. Kritzinger.
Thank you. Hopefully in this short time you get a little better understanding of the type of person that I am and how I will represent you in the next 4 years. I am committed to improving our community and listening to the people that make up this community. I have been fortunate enough to have worked hard to obtain leadership and positions in my 26 years. And I know, as General Collins once stated, that there are no secrets to success. It is a result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure. Preparation is the key to success, and I'm prepared to take this over as your city councilman for Villa Park. But let me also assure you that I have no political aspirations in my future. I have no political agenda other than to serve Villa Park and its people. I will respect the position of City Council and respect my fellow members of the council. And it's really time we work together as a team to do this. We can have our differences, but let's not disrespect our differences. I look forward to seeing you as I continue to walk through this neighborhood. And I've enjoyed actually our meetings and our telephone conversations. And really, if you want to know a little bit about me, just Google my name. And I think it's interesting what you find out on Google. It will tell you a little more about me. Again, thank you for your time that you've spent, just 2 hours. And thank the League of Women's Voters for putting this on. Outstanding job. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Fascinelli.
Well, in the mere 20 months that I've been on council, one of the things that I dove into was to actually reread some of the documents that had started a long time ago. The foundation, what its basis was, what the Women's League's basis was, what our life was supposed to be like in the city of Villa Park. And in doing that, I brought transparency to the city. There were questions that were asked that nothing was being done wrong, but questions that were asked that people forgot about. And if there's one thing that I can leave you with is that, yes, we are a transparent city. And it was very refreshing to come on the council to know that you can look at anything you want, ask any council member, ask any staff member, and there isn't anything hidden. And that's really very, very important. It's a very trustworthy city. I hope that I have served you well for 20 months. I may not have agreed with everyone, but I do it in the best interest of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Catani.
I thank everybody that is here today. I think you showed a lot of involvement in the community. I thank you a lot. It's just amazing that the turnout that we have. I want to thank the League of Women Voters as well as Mr. and Mrs. Haig. Jill, thank you for putting this together. As your councilman, I will definitely address the school parking issue or the traffic issue that's there. We'll try to go head on with the PERS situation that we have. Keep this place safe and sound. That's what we need to do. Keep the burglaries down. That's what we want to do here in Villa Park. I have good leadership skills. I've been involved with a nonprofit organization for the last 15 years. I have a lot of following there. I've done a lot of, apart from Villa Park, I do a lot of things for other organizations and help a lot of needy people out there as well. So I know how to do that. I would like to show my integrity for that and share that with you guys. If there's anything that you have missed out tonight, please reach out to me. I'll have my brochures out there and be glad to hand them out to you, shake your hand, get to know you a little bit better. So just vote for Jay. Thank you very much.
At this point, I think you should give these candidates a hand. Gentleman right there.
I have something that has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with the sound system here. I'm older, persuading. I had a hard time understanding many of you guys.
Well, I would say that's something to address to the
We'll work on that.
town people.
Sound system.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. Thank you again for coming out. Thank all the candidates.
That was successful.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.